going on, everybody? Yashua Suarez here with Edge Realty, and this is another episode of the Edge Realty podcast. Have you been wondering how to kind of get your life organized in your home, and also try to be more have more of a presence when it comes to staging your home? You know what? This is what we're going to be talking about today, and today we have Amber with us from the organizer Chicks, and she's actually an amazing person. She came in and did an awesome presentation with us at one of our sales meetings, and she kind of blew me away. So I was like, you know what, I think this would be a great podcast to have. And you know what, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. And so kind of give us a little insight. I wanted to really kind of get into it, and you kind of talked to us about how you started Organizer Chicks, but let's go back a little bit further.
Sure.
What was it? Where did you come from? Where did you start? What was your background originally? Because you didn't start off doing that originally.
No, this is a weird thing to do for a living, right?
Yeah.
The question like, how and why does somebody do this? I totally understand it. So things you should know about me include that I'm a firstborn child. I'm the oldest of three. And so there's definitely that firstborn, personality type at play here. The kid who was always maybe a little bit type A, maybe a little bit bossy, wanted to do a good job and follow the rules and set a good example. And that certainly manifested itself in terms of physical spaces. So all my life, I've been just like the tidy kid. And part of that comes down to the fact that as a kid, I recognized I have a terrible memory.
Okay.
I remember forgetting that I had an assignment due one time in the fourth grade, and it just killed me on the inside. And I was like, well, that's it. I got to have a calendar of some sort. And well, my math book is yellow, so I'll get a yellow folder for that class. And my English book is purple. And so, and that was
that
the
kid.
beginning. I was that kid, me and my Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper, the one with the unicorn, in case you were wondering, right? And you should be. It was awesome. But
I love my Trapper Keeper.
The Velcro
The
rip.
Velcro,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. Just take you right back.
I love it.
But yeah, that was born out of a weakness, and I had to work hard to kind of overcome that and work on time management and really work on organization and productivity and staying decluttered. And it really wasn't until I got much older that I realized I had accidentally created some really strong skill sets that were serving me well in my jobs or in grad school.
With those, so sorry to interrupt you, but was that like something like you did yourself? Was that self-proclaimed or initiated?
It was, and again, probably out of a misplaced sense of responsibility. My parents weren't saying like, you have to be the third parent around here. But again, my siblings were 5 and then 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
And so it really was old enough that I needed to be kind of helpful and that I wanted to set a good example.
Mm-hmm.
And that honestly, I felt just probably a heavy sense of responsibility all of my life. And I remember this time when the assignment was due, and my internal dialogue was something along the lines of, you are too smart to make stupid decisions like this. So it's really hard on myself. As the mother of a fourth grader now, looking back, if my fourth grader was saying that kind of thing, I'd be like, girl, don't be so hard on yourself,
right?
But
absolutely.
At the time, that was just my perspective. And so but when I got a little older, went to college, and I had a scholarship. And so I knew I was going to go do something, it was the thing they were telling us all, go to college is the answer, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I got an undergrad degree in psychology, because I knew that no matter what, I ended up, landing on, it would always be for and with and about people.
Mm-hmm.
And finished that degree and decided I would work on a master's degree because I was recruiting for the university. And so I got like a 90% tuition discount. And it was like, man, you can't not take advantage of that. Even if you're traveling or whatever the job entails, like you got to go for it. And so I looked at all the offerings, and one was a master's of science in clinical mental health. And the normal thing that you do with that education is that you become a therapist, right?
Yeah,
and so I thought for a minute, maybe that's what I would do. But as I studied and as I got into the clinical hours where I was really working with individuals or couples, what I found is that a lot of the big issues that became kind of like heavily stressful or deal breakers in marriage were maybe really comprised of a lot of smaller things that were just adding like little bits of stress, but all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across the statistic that the average American is wasting 17 minutes a day, every day, looking for things they've lost or misplaced.
That's crazy.
And it is crazy. And I'm a, confessed nerd here. So the first thing I did was math.
I'm
Like,
probably above average
what
on that
is
part.
17? Well, that's the thing, right? That's just the average bear out there
Yeah.
walking through life. But I did the math on like, what is this times, a day, a week, a month, a year, a lifetime. And it ends up that we're creating 1,038 additional work shifts for ourselves that we just don't have to be going to, work shift
Yeah.
for no good
Yeah.
reason. And it translates to almost a calendar year. It's 49.25 weeks of life, day and night,
Jeez.
that we're literally just giving away to something avoidable. And while we're giving that time away, we're not happy. We're not like eating cotton candy. We're
Yeah.
being really down on ourselves,
Hmm.
right? And a lot of negative self talk. And then we're sending a ripple into the world from every home every single day. And if your ripple is chaotic and running late and cutting people off in traffic, you sent a kid to school that day who just got a Pop Tart lobbed at him instead of having the nice sit down breakfast you told yourself you were going to have this morning. There's just some like, man, we wish we had a do over for that.
Yeah.
And I just had the realization that I don't lose 17 minutes a day. And that's avoidable, therefore, right?
Hmm.
And it kind of was a light bulb moment for me to recognize that, like, oh, accidentally, I have created some processes and some procedures in answer to the weakness of my memory
Hmm.
that have served me well. And I think there is a pain point out there that I can solve and monetize and help other people to reclaim their 17 minutes and just live a little happier and healthier.
So I love that because we've had other guests on the podcast as well too, and this kind of is a reoccurring topic where
Yeah.
you end up not even realizing that you've already got a solution to other people's problems, and
Right.
that's where a lot of entrepreneurs come from. And I think that there's a lot of people that want to are eager to be entrepreneurs
Yeah.
out there, but they don't realize that it's more of a finding a solution to a problem that maybe you already have a
Absolutely.
solution to that other people have that you can, like, just like you said, monetize. And I feel like a lot of people try to force that to where they're like, oh, this is kind of the trend that's going on right now. Let's go ahead
Hmm.
and try to jump on this, which is fine. It works for a lot of people,
It can.
especially for like Amazon or anything like
Right.
that, any affiliation.
Yep.
But when it comes to creating your own baby,
Hmm.
basically, when it comes to a company,
Yeah.
that is like the way to go.
You are very insightful to recognize that. I actually just came, I got in at 3 a.m. last night from filming a reality TV show about entrepreneurs.
Wait a
And
minute.
that's one of the things
Wait.
that we really talk about to these early stage startups is you have to be solving a pain point for somebody because they have to know they need your service, right? We have to feel that there is something missing in our lives and something you can provide before we're going to be willing to let go of our money for the thing. So you're exactly right.
For sure. So,
Yeah.
all right, we're not just gonna skip over that. By the way,
Hold the phone.
I wanna. All right, what?
Yeah.
So you said you just came back from recording a reality TV show.
Yes.
What?
So
Please tell us what it was.
so this show is called The Blocks, BLOX, and it's about the building blocks of entrepreneurship. So it's hosted by a guy named Wes Bergman, who is in the MTV world incredibly famous. He
Okay.
started out on Real World, like way back in the day.
Wes
literally-
Bergman, yes,
Wes
yeah,
Bergman, if
okay,
you
yeah,
know who
okay.
that
As
is.
soon as you said Real World,
Yeah.
I was like, I knew what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
so he dominated Real World for a long time, and then he's been on the MTV's The Challenge
Hmm.
and won really recently. And so in his real life back in Kansas City, he is super interested in venture capitalism and in helping incubate young startup businesses because he understands economics. He's actually a really smart guy, and you can see that in his
Yeah.
gameplay. You can see how tactical and how just like he is 3 steps ahead of everybody
Absolutely,
else.
absolutely.
But that has been really applied to the way he wants to help small businesses because he understands that honestly, small business is the backbone of the American economy.
Amen.
And all of the taxes that fund everybody's everything are coming from entrepreneurs, and there's an incredibly high failure rate, especially in early stage startups. And so he, several years back, started taking all the money that he was earning from these game shows on MTV because he just wins and wins and wins.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was bringing it back home to Kansas City, investing in startups, and he started essentially a for equity incubator type school.
I
And that's been
love
going on for a
that.
long time.
I had no.
But then
no
he
idea.
finally decided to kind of bring his two worlds together. So he's been making reality TV all his life since he was a child, essentially. And on the other part of his life, he's been doing this like investing in entrepreneurs thing. And he decided, I'm going to marry these two things. I want to make a show that is about startups and about the building blocks of entrepreneurism. So I was actually cast on season 5 of that show and won. And so that was
Oh,
amazing.
there we go.
And so I've been back twice now to be a judge slash mentor, and we just wrapped season 17 in the wee hours of the morning
That
yesterday.
is awesome. All right, so how long were you out there?
So every season takes a full week to film.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's intense.
I
It
was gonna
is.
say.
Yeah. Probably the shortest day that I put in is probably 13 hours. You're just sun up to sundown,
Yeah.
go, go, go. And it's
So
wonderful.
is it kind of like have you ever watched The Voice? Is it kind of like The Voice where you have a mentor that comes in and but mentors everybody that's on certain team?
There's an
How
element
did
of
you?
that. So the basic outline of every day is that every day there's a different topic that you're learning about, and it's one that is going to be relevant no matter kind of where you're at on your entrepreneurial journey, because some people will be so early stage that it's just a seedling idea right now. You might not have even sold a unit of anything yet. So we're just, at the very pre-launch stage. And some people will come, 8 years and millions of dollars into business, and they're ready to really next level things. So, but every day has a different topic, and Wes teaches that topic. He's just a super smart guy, and he has a gift for being able to make things that could feel dry really interesting and relatable and easy to learn and listen to. So everyone sits through this like 3 hour long lecture essentially on whatever the topic is, and it's very cerebral, it's very academic. And then you are broken up into pods, and so every judge or slash mentor has 10, 11 people in their pod every day, and it's different. So you get a different judge every single day. So
Yeah.
you get someone else's, expertise and perspective on things, which is great. But in those pods, you're immediately tested. They're given some kind of challenge where you take that academic information that you learned that was general, and you have to apply it to your particular business, right?
Okay.
So it's like, okay, we learned today about copyright. What does your particular client need to hear to understand your message, and what is your, business brand versus your personal brand, and how are you going to increase those things? So super interesting. They're immediately given a challenge of some sort, and then the time kind of turns into a mentoring session where there's more of a back and forth. We do more of a deep dive on how to relate those, principles to their particular end user or to their own, growth as an entrepreneur. Time for them to kind of ask questions about the subject of the day, or maybe just on your area of expertise.
Hmm.
Sometimes people want to talk to me about workflow or productivity, right? Even if, the class is actually about early stage funding for startups, so that's fine too. But every day, every one of the judges declares a winner from their pod, but that's kept secret. They don't know who it is yet.
Yeah.
And then in the night, everyone comes together for what's called the blocks off. And it's where all the individual winners of the individual pods go up on stage all at the same time, and they're given another challenge. And again, it's about the topic that was at hand today, but now we've got the best of the best. So the winners of the pods all come up and they face off each other in this blocks off, which is just really fun and exciting. And sometimes it's a pop quiz, or sometimes you have to act out a scenario in which your client discovers your
No
website and walk us through the
way.
funnel that they're going to go through to become someone who's not even acquainted with your brand to someone who's purchasing and then referring their friends to you. So super interesting. And then every night a winner of the blocks off is declared, and everything along the way it's gamified, and so there are points attached to it. And then at the end of the week, a winner is declared, and they're the best on the blocks,
That
and they
is
win $10,000.
That is
So pretty
awesome.
cool,
That is
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I've never heard of the show. I mean, I love like Shark Tank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's one of my favorites. And then we had we here in town we actually did kind of like a Shark Tank
Fun.
local version of it that was put together by Alicia Paisno over at the Cabot Economic Developer.
Yes.
And she did a great job with that,
Very
and
cool.
we got to be a part of that a little bit as well too to help out. But yeah, that sounds amazing. That's like right up my alley of like
It's
shows
pretty
that I
fun to
like.
watch. So you can catch it on Prime. Only seasons 6 and 7 are out right now, but you can watch seasons, I know 5 because I personally am on that one, but through 12 are actually out on the app, which is just called The Blocks. or you can check them out at betablocks.com. There's
That's
tons of assets there.
that's gonna be my
Yeah.
next binge right there.
I
That's
love
gonna be my
it.
next
I hope
binge.
you
I
enjoy.
absolutely love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's been fun to be a part of, for
That
sure.
is so amazing that you kind of went from there. All right, so tell us a little bit. All right, so did you on season 5? Is that where you started the business? Like, was it? Did you come in already having that time frame beforehand, or did you come in brand new?
Yeah, so I actually came in about 8 years into business, and I had a strong brand and a strong branch of the company in Northwest Arkansas, and we actually pretty recently opened our Kansas City branch
Okay, so
of the
before we get to
company.
that, then let's
Sure.
go back. Then let's
Yeah.
go back to how you transition. Not because we
Hmm.
already talked about how you figured out the problem and the
Yeah.
solution. Now, how did you make that into reality?
Yeah. One little baby step at a time, and with no big, like, I did not have a business plan. I did not have a 10-year vision. And I'm so thankful that I didn't, because the truth of the matter is we're about 14 years into this now. And if on day one I had seen where it was going to be today, I wouldn't have done it. I would have said, that's too big. That's too much. I don't know how to be a CEO. I don't have an MBA.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome, didn't you?
I just think I felt like that was beyond me
Yeah,
and that I wasn't capable or interested, to be
yeah.
honest with you. But something I now really understand about myself is like, I can't stop. I can't stop seeing opportunity, seeing possibility. And once, so I started because it was long story short, it took my husband and I 10 years of marriage to get pregnant the first time.
Oh wow,
And so
yeah.
once this little, blessing finally came along, I felt like I need to stop this job where I'm on the road so much. Again, I recruited honors college students to the University of Arkansas, and so I traveled like the entire SEC was my territory.
Hmm.
Loved it, was really enjoyed that job, but it just wasn't conducive to having a family. And once we had one baby, we knew like we'll be able to strike while the iron's hot if we're going to have a second. We ended up having 4, so that's been fun.
That's awesome.
But those 4 babies happened during the same time that I've been growing this business too, right? So
Wow.
it's been stretched a little thin at times,
Hmm.
but it's been a great ride. But essentially, I didn't want to keep doing what I had been doing, but I still needed to earn some money. My husband was a teacher and a football coach at the high school level, and he got paid like one.
Hmm.
And so there was a deficit. I needed to make $285 a month. And it was kind of a fun opportunity to say, like, what do I want to do? Not just like, what's the next opportunity that's fallen in my lap, or what did my father in law connect me to? You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of the normal
Yeah.
ways that we maybe get plugged into jobs that become careers that become our lives. So it's kind of this moment to kind of pause and say, where do I see a pain point? Where do I think that I can bring my unique personality and perspective and experience and actually like add value and be a helper to people in some kind of way? And what do I not see saturating the market, right? Like, and I looked around and I thought, okay, no one's doing this thing. Back in 2011, which is when I started a company called The Organizer Chick, singular, just a girl and her label maker. There was not a best-selling, book about organizing. No one was making TV shows about it. It kind of wasn't a thing
Yeah.
unless you were a hoarder or Lifestyles of the Rich and
The
Famous.
extreme.
Exactly. We were like at either end of the spectrum. And that was maybe the only way that the average American was even hearing of hiring someone to come and organize. And so I really had the difficulty/opportunity of creating something that did not exist and that people weren't aware of, and had to educate people to the fact that, like, hey, this is a thing and I can literally come to your house and help create just such a more calm, peaceful, and productive situation for you to get to live inside of every day or to work inside of every day, right? So
Yes.
anyway, I literally started, this is like hilarious, but it's so bootstrappy. And like, I'm a little bit proud of 2011 me because, like, she tried. She's a doer,
Yeah.
That's the thing I'll say for myself. I don't have all the answers, but by golly, I'm going to figure something out. And I may fail, but I'm going to get back up and try again. So anyway, I went around my house and I took pictures of my pantry, of my laundry room, of my closet. And then I messed those spaces up just to show the juxtaposition of before and after and how much better it felt and how much better it obviously would function. And then I took those pictures and I posted them on Craigslist because it was 2011 and it
That's
was
true.
free,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You're like, why Craigslist? Because 2011. That's
No, no,
why.
no, no.
Yeah.
It just brings me back because I bought a
Yeah.
couple cars off of
There
Craigslist.
you
All
go,
right? So
man. It was legit, right? Yeah, no shade to Craigslist. It's probably
no,
still
yeah.
legit, fantastic. But that was the beginning of me just saying, like, I'm gonna just, toss this out here and see if there are any nibbles. And sure enough, really quickly, somebody reached out and she had like a wonderfully overwhelming craft room that just had like so much stuff, like a high ratio of items to square foot. And it was fantastic because it was overwhelming. And I said, this is great because if I can do this, I can do this.
Yeah.
And we did it and it
That was
was
your test.
awesome. Yeah, it turned out so great. And there were like 5 different zones for the 5 types of organizing she was doing. And it was just like, so functional and so usable, and she was over the moon excited about it. And then she hired me to do a different space, and then her friend hired me, and then her friend's friend hired me, and before long
Word of
I
mouth.
had other people's pictures, and I started a Facebook page. And that, was kind of the beginning of thinking like, okay, maybe we're on to something here, like maybe this isn't just a weird skill set I do for my friends and family. Like maybe I really can truly monetize this. And then before very long, I was pregnant with baby number 2. Huzzah! But I have this like list of clients who want me to come help them, and who I'm having to book weeks or maybe months, into the future at this point in time. And so I thought I'll bring on an assistant, and she'll take half the workload, and I'll take half, and that'll be great. But what ended up happening is she got just as busy as I was,
Hmm.
but then the real magic came in when we would work on projects together. And I mean, you've all heard the whole is more than the sum of its parts. And that is just so, so true in teamwork. And I know you guys see that here at Edge Realty. But that's just been so true for us that, our productivity is better. It's more fun. It's more safe.
Yeah.
It's better all around for us and for the clients when we can bring a team. And so that was a real paradigm shift for me, that this is the way the vast majority of professional organizers are singletons. And that's great for them, if that's what you want to do. But for me, I understood pretty early on that I needed to pluralize the name of that company because team was the way forward. And we've just continued to grow. We have, I think it's 37 right now, total organizers that work for the
Wow.
Organizer Chicks. And our biggest branch is in Northwest Arkansas. And we have the Kansas City branch, a Houston, Texas branch. We've obviously recently opened up Central Arkansas, and this is actually the first time I've said this publicly, but we are opening Charlotte, North Carolina as well.
Oh,
You heard it
Charlotte.
here.
There you go.
Yep.
You guys are getting the organizer chicks, and you guys are gonna love it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Bringing the flock your
That
way.
is
So.
amazing. So, how many people are you gonna have over in Charlotte?
So right now it's just 2. We just
Okay.
starting really small, and trying to just like get a little presence and a foothold in that market, and we'll see where it goes.
Starting off like the original organizer
100%.
chicks.
Yep,
So to kind of get
100%.
that in there.
Just trying to take what we know has worked in a different market and scale that into a different geographic
I
location.
love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. That's amazing.
Scary, but really exciting at the
Yes,
same time,
exactly. Well, hey, but what do they say? If it doesn't scare you a little bit, it's not big enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dream bigger.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is awesome. So you guys have so many different markets now. Starting off from working it by yourself to then get an assistant, and then
Yeah.
you guys both kind of rising within the ranks as far as getting clientele.
Hmm.
That is like the goal, and it's not easy by any means, but it's the goal of like what makes it worth it, what makes it something that you can capitalize on,
Yeah.
and making that dream a reality. I absolutely love that. So like what I really one thing that really caught my attention when you came into your presentation
Yeah.
was when we were talking about the psychology behind stuff.
Right.
I love talking about the psychology of whatever it is, really, to be honest, when it
Yeah.
comes to human beings. And kind of tell everybody else a little bit about kind of what you told us when you came in about organization and the psychology of it.
Sure. And to be honest, I don't remember exactly what I talked with you guys about, but I'll tell you one thing that I talk about often, and you tell me if that's not what you want to hear. I'll tell you. I'll
Yeah.
tell you more things. But probably one of the things that I did and that I would say now is that I think it's important that people understand the physiology of psychology and what's going on when we see clutter. As humans, we are really designed for productivity. Our brains want to feel a cohesive experience. We like the feeling of walking into a hotel room. And you walk into that room, even if it's not super expensive, and there's kind of this awe feeling. You're having a physiological response to the low ratio of items to square foot, inside that space. And so it stands to reason that when the opposite is true, when there's a high ratio of items to square foot and things are really cluttered, that the opposite happens. So there's a neurotransmitter. It's called cortisol. It gets a bad rap. It does a lot of good things for us in the correct amounts in the body, but it's called the stress hormone because when we are in stressful situations, it gets released. And it does get released when humans see clutter. Also, very interestingly, I think women have a statistically significantly higher and longer lasting
Yes.
cortisol spike than their male counterparts when they look at clutter, even other people's clutter. So even if we're not internalizing the ownership of the clutter, just seeing it kind of sets off a little bit of a frenzy inside of us. And cortisol, again, in high amounts and over time, it does some pretty ugly things in the body.
Hmm.
It's going to increase blood pressure, blood sugar. It's going to decrease our serotonin release, which is nature's like happy chemical. We
Hmm.
want all of that we can get. It decreases our immune response, makes it more likely for us to get migraine headaches. So the Mayo Clinic has actually gone so far as to say that it can disrupt, quote, all the body's natural processes
Oh, wow.
if we're like being bathed in cortisol regularly.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like the world is crazy. Right?
Hmm.
Can we just all, like, without
Amen.
going into any
Amen.
particular details, there's just a lot that we cannot individually control about the climate, the economy, politics, wars, like sickness. There's just stuff that's going to be going on out there in life. And so, if we can, and we can, create an environment that just feels and functions better, we owe that to ourselves.
Hmm.
We deserve a place to come home to that it's a respite from the rest of the world, right? And I think it's very empowering. And I think that word gets thrown around a lot these days.
I do love that word.
But it is, it helps you to understand that you have power that you can take and that you can wield
Exactly.
to control your own neurotransmitters. You can help drive the productivity that you do or don't feel. You
Amen.
can help drive the peace that you do or don't feel. You can stop losing your keys every single morning and being 17 minutes late to work every single day, right? You can
Hmm.
send a better, kinder, more patient ripple into the world for yourself, for your kids, for that poor guy who just wants to merge in traffic, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So we have more control than I think we realize sometimes. And the more we understand about our own, you know, neuropsychology, I think the better like masters of the human experience we can be. And so this is a weird way to use my education, but I'm super passionate about it because it matters. It matters how we feel, it matters how we function, and it matters how we show up for ourselves and others.
I'm sorry right now. That's gonna be like a bit that we're gonna kind of, and
Notes to
that's gonna
editor.
be the nugget right there.
Oh
Oh my god,
man.
that's gonna be awesome. I remember you talking about the elevated levels of cortisol that females have
Mhm.
over males.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that our principal broker Corbin was like, "What if it's backwards?"
Yeah. And sometimes it absolutely can be, right?
Hmm.
These are generalities. Anytime we're going to talk about, statistics or, anything like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that is just going to be the average,
Right,
quote
right.
unquote. But absolutely in anyone, male or female, can be more sensitive to this or anything else than other things.
Hmm.
And yeah, Corbin is someone who he really thrives in a more organized space, and he's intuitive enough to understand that about himself
Yes.
and to have like invested in doing some work to get and kind of maintain your sanity that way a little bit,
Absolutely, you do, you
So
do,
yeah.
and I think it was interesting that you were talking about the cortisol. The Mayo Clinic talking about the cortisol can really affect all systems of the body,
Yep.
even from the nervous system to, I mean, like blood flow to everything. Because
Yeah.
it's really interesting whenever you see, for instance, like a big example that I always take from this is I had an aunt that was diagnosed with bone cancer a very long time ago,
Oh goodness.
but
Yeah.
she was diagnosed with bone cancer, and they told her she had about 6 months to live.
Oh my
Basically,
goodness.
she
Yeah.
ended up living for another 8 years. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. and
Wow.
and a big thing, and I was too young to kind of really remember this, but
Hmm.
my mother was always telling me, yeah, it was her outlook on life. It was the way that
I
she,
mean,
the
yeah.
energy she put out is what she got back, and it made it last that long.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the last 6 months that it really took effect and really got bad.
Yeah.
And it was a battle throughout that time as well too.
I'm sure.
But
Yeah.
her way of life was still being able to, she could still control what was going on
Hmm.
around her because
That's
she had
amazing.
the
Yep.
mentality of being able to control and know that she
Yep.
had the power, empowering herself to be able
Yep.
to take control of, what she feels internally as far as, emotionally, I should say,
Right.
or spiritually,
Yeah.
and being able to kind of drive that into a physicality.
Yeah.
It's,
That's amazing.
it's crazy. And I always take that as an example because I say, yes, we all go through the rough times. Yes, we all go through
Absolutely.
stress. Yes,
Yep.
we have everyday stressors that kind of take over our lives or impact us. But kind of where you come in with your psychology behind it and your methods that you use is, why not, if you can reduce it by 15%, like,
Right.
why not?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and make something that you feel like it's a mundane task every single day and use that to go ahead and make something to where maybe you can spend that extra 17 minutes a day doing something constructive, or
Right.
not having to stop something else to
Yeah.
do this, so that way you can complete that task. Because God knows I am really bad
Long
at
list.
at ending a task because
Yeah.
I end up losing something, and I get that ADD
Yep.
moment. I know
Yep.
it's not ADD anymore, but ADD moment to basically find whatever it is I'm looking for, and then I
Yeah.
completely forget about that last task.
Congratulations, you're a normal human. You know that's so normal that again we have 5 locations and 30 something employees. Like that's okay. And something I really hope people understand is that if you're interested in maybe calling a professional organizer, there can be such a heavy sense of shame or embarrassment.
Yes,
And
yes.
it
Please
is
talk about
honestly
that.
an act of bravery to just pick up the phone and call. Very, very often people say, I'm so embarrassed for you to come see my place, or I'm worried it's going to be the worst thing you've ever seen. I hope that any of your listeners who are thinking about calling anybody, whether it's the organizer chicks or not, understand that if someone has decided to become a professional organizer, they love seeing your before.
Hmm.
The worse the before is, the more excited we're going to be to turn that into an after, because it's letting us do what we love. So we're not
Absolutely.
judging you at all. We're just excited to come and bring solutions to you.
That's right.
And furthermore, you are good at 22 things that I am not. I literally never learned to cook. True story.
Really?
I am a very grown woman. Probably could be capable if I wanted to. Didn't care to.
Hey,
Could make a sandwich and not be hungry and not have a bunch of cleanup.
but there was other
So,
things that needed your attention, and you
well,
went tenfold. You went 10x on those.
yeah, I
So
did.
yes.
And I got lucky too. I went straight from being, in my parents' house to a college dorm with a meal plan to being married to a guy who is an excellent cook and enjoys doing that. And so
Amen,
the
sister.
point being is that, again, you're going to be good at a ton of things that I'm not. And that's not just okay, it's awesome.
Yeah.
We were made to need each other
Yes.
and to have different strengths and weaknesses. And there is nothing wrong with calling someone in your area of weakness to say, like, let me borrow your strength. In America, we have agreed that this thing called the dollar is worth trading for someone else's strength.
Yes.
And by the way, it doesn't have to necessarily be that that's your area of weakness. Maybe you could organize your garage just as well as anybody else, but a question that's worth asking yourself is this the best use of your time? If you're incredibly busy, maybe your Saturday is better spent being with your family
Hmm.
or relaxing out on the lake
Hmm.
or going to volunteer somewhere and doing something that feels good to your soul. So it doesn't have to just be, oh, I'm going to hire someone in because I'm no good at the thing. It can just be like, I'm going to assess the ROI on my own time, the great non renewable resource of life, right?
Yes. You don't get it
So,
back.
exactly. There is nothing the best among us, the richest among us can do to earn more of that. So, if it's just not the best use of your time, that's also a dandy reason to hire someone to do whatever the thing may be. If it's
Yes.
cleaning, if it's cooking some dinners for your family, whatever, whatever the service might be.
Yes.
I hope that we as humans, and I'll be honest, I especially see this among women, will let ourselves off the hook. The world is telling us that we're supposed to be Pinterest perfect pantries and somehow
Oh yeah.
CEOs and also stay at home moms, and like there's a big mean girl thing that still happens among women. We're hard on ourselves and we're hard on each other for some reason,
Hmm.
and I hope we'll all just stop that crap.
Man, and I don't even think it's just women. I think because I
Yeah.
kind of go through that same thing
Do
myself
you?
when I'm
Okay.
looking at other
Yeah.
people's videos and like, oh yeah, I want to do a video at my house, but I have a pile of laundry on the
Yeah.
couch. You
Yeah.
know what? Never mind. I think I'm good. I'm not gonna do this video today.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I
it's
appreciate you sharing that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
things like that. But some ideas for folks to kind of be a little bit more organized that they could
Yeah.
probably just implement within like a 5 minute everyday deal.
Ah.
What's something
Yeah.
that you would kind of recommend for people to kind of think about
Yeah.
that maybe they do every single day that they
Mm-hmm.
don't think about as far as maybe being a solution to
Yeah.
saving some time every day.
So I like the way you asked this question and that you alluded to the fact that it has to be every single day,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could get in like Iron Man shape, be like in the best shape of your life. And if you just quit working out, you stop running, you're not swimming anymore, you're going to lose everything that you gained. And so organization is something that there has to be a constant degree of effort put
Mm-hmm.
into. And we think a lot about putting things in their position for their next use. And so essentially you're doing your favors today for tomorrow you. But one of the things that I would suggest to anybody is to experience a little paradigm shift with me.
Okay.
In the English language, we use the word clutter for when all the stuff is in all the places, right? And that is a singular noun. And so the power of language is strong. We tend to think of it that way. It's this thing, oh, look at this clutter, it's overwhelming. And the problem with that and the misnomer that I think that word is that it makes it feel like it's one huge thing that we can't possibly really overcome. And sometimes people start to embark on the decluttering and they just say like, it's too much, I quit this, this clutter is, killing me. But what I want people to understand is that really the definition for me of clutter is delayed decisions and deferred actions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the thing that we didn't go ahead and carry through to the end right now. And often they're 2 minute or less tasks. It's you kicked off your shoes and then you didn't just like take them with you when you went to the bedroom and just plop them in the closet. You walked in the house with the mail in your hand and you tossed it down on the counter instead of just doing a quick sort and throwing the vast majority of it into the recycle
Yeah.
bin, right? And going ahead and putting the rest in the filing cabinet or the inbox. It's, you took the dish that you had and instead of just rinsing it off and putting it right into the dishwasher, you just put it into the sink. So these little 2 minute or less tasks, they seem small, but they add up. And oftentimes we run through the day and we take care of everything and everybody else. And then the night finally comes and we're like, thank goodness, I get to relax now.
Mm-hmm.
But we look around and there are 37 2 minute tasks that are still waiting for us. And it's just so daunting. William James said, obviously a long time ago, there's nothing so fatiguing as the eternal hanging on of an uncompleted task.
Oh my gosh.
And the second I heard that quote, I knew I had it locked in for memory forever because the way he described that, the eternal hanging on
That's so
of an
poetic the way you say
uncompleted
it.
task. And it's so true. Like we allow ourselves to be tortured with like, I'm the taxes and I'm not done
Yes.
over here. We're like,
Yes.
dang it. But those little things will talk to us while we're trying to sit down and just watch The Office,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just want to see what
Oh
Jim
my
and Dwight are
gosh.
doing, man. But instead, I'm being taunted by the dirty dishes in my sink. And so the more we're just cognizant of these 2 minute tasks that are in our lives, that many of them, again, are delayed decisions
Mm-hmm.
or deferred actions. So again, we talked about the deferred action, the kick off the shoe and didn't take it to where it belongs. The deferred decision though, that might look like I wore this shirt for like an hour to a networking meeting. And then I took it off and I'm like, is it clean? Is it dirty? I feel like I can't decide. So I'm going to throw it over the back of this chair, right? Like, did things ever get cleaner by chilling out over the back of the chair overnight? No, they didn't. And then what happens tomorrow? You throw the next one on top of it. We have all been there. We have all done that.
I'm laughing
And
because yes, it
yeah,
is very true. It is very
it's
true, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be like, you're preaching to the choir right now, or
yes.
even feel attacked. But don't feel attacked.
Yeah.
It's just the
No.
truth. We all do this.
Don't feel attacked, feel normal.
Yes,
That's the thing.
yes.
Like, this is so typical. So, like, you're not wrong, you're not broken, you're a normal human. But once you start to recognize, I am just delaying a decision right now,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna have to deal with this later. I don't want the chair of halfway used clothing to just permanently live in my bedroom,
Mhm.
right? The more we start to just say like, I need a protocol for this, and you just have to decide, draw a line in the sand somewhere. If I wore it for more than 2 hours, it automatically gets called dirty. I don't care how pristine it was. Just like have a protocol in place so that you don't have to belabor every decision. Because sometimes, especially depending on your personality type, especially if maybe you're a little neurospicy or if there is a little attention
Little spicy,
deficit,
I like
yes,
that.
yes, we can really struggle with making what seems like a small decision to somebody else can become a big and overwhelming decision, and we can just become frozen in inactivity.
Mhm.
So if you develop a protocol and you say, if I've worn it for more than 2 hours or if I dropped some chili on it, that's an easy, giveaway. We're just going to go ahead and wash it, and we're going to err on the side of laundering.
Yeah.
Um,
Simplify it. Just simplify it for
exactly.
yourself.
Yeah. But the more we start to recognize that that's what clutter is,
Mhm.
the delayed decisions, the deferred actions, two things happen. One is that it enables us to undo the clutter in a more like doable feeling way. We recognize it's not clutter, it's clutters. that should be a plural word. It's not
Yes.
this one overwhelming thing.
Yes.
It's a bunch of little things that we just didn't follow through and follow our protocols on.
Right.
So we can undo that problem one thing at a time, exactly the way that it was created, right?
Oh my
It
God.
got created one kicked off shoe at a time, one tossed pile of mail at a time. And so I think that helps to like take some of the overwhelm out of undoing it. So that's one thing that helps.
Yeah.
But the second thing, and the powerful thing, mostly powerful thing, is that it will help us to avoid creating clutter in the first place. If, as we just walk through our daily life, we're mindful of clutters and of being just cognizant of, I'm delaying a decision right now. I just need to decide, am I going to RSVP to this party or not? And I'm going to throw this invitation away and move on with my life, right? So the more we just can have our eyes open to that kind of thing, the more we can avoid creating clutters in the first place.
Oh my gosh, I love how you just broke that down. And I started kind of thinking about going back to, you know, the the service of what you bring, or any
Mm-hmm.
organizer that's a professional organizer out there, and not being ashamed of having to reach out to somebody that's professional in this industry
Yeah.
to go ahead and have somebody take care of this for you. Because I'm reading a book right now, or listening to a book, an audio book,
Yeah.
called Who Not How.
Okay.
And so the who not how is a big, the big storyline behind it is basically saying, find who can do this for you, not how you can do it for yourself. Because the who not how
Mm.
aspect is thinking of, using your time wisely, for one,
Yep.
taking stuff out of your life that you're not good at, and having somebody else that is good at it, that does like to do it,
Yeah.
and use them as professional. And it could be an investment, into an
Yeah.
investment into, not as just like if you own a business, but as an investment in your life. Investment, just
Absolutely.
like you were saying, to have more time, spending time with your kids,
Yeah.
spending more time with your family, doing things that you do like to do, that's productive.
Mhm.
Maybe having more time for work.
Absolutely.
But it's
Showing up better while you're there,
creating that
being more
investment for
fully mentally and emotionally present because you're
Yes.
not stressed out about what's happening at home. One of our favorite texts to get after working with a client is something along the lines of like, "Oh my gosh, I just keep coming to stand in my pantry." Every time I start to get a little stressed out with the kids, I go just like zen out in my pantry because it feels good. And it's not about, and I really do. I hope we have a second to kind of make a distinction. Something that I see a lot, again, women are the vast majority of the time a phone rings for us. It's a woman who's calling, because of, if it's a biological imperative or if it's a sociological construct, they tend to be the ones that feel the stress more of
Mhm.
the home, right? Not taking anything away from Corbin or,
No,
anybody
no,
else
yeah,
who
no, but
loves,
yeah,
who
let's be
feels
honest,
better in that. But generally speaking, it's
Yes.
women. So a lot of times when these women call us, they feel a lot of shame and they feel a lot of embarrassment, and they say things along the lines of like, no matter how hard I try, I just can't get my Pinterest pantry, or I can't get my closet to look like they look in the magazines, and I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And something I really want people to understand is that so often when we look at the end product that we're shown in a magazine or in a television show, what we are seeing is staging.
Yes.
It is not actual organization. And as a professional organizer, it's easy for my eyes to see the like, where is 92% of the stuff that was in this garage?
Mhm.
And like, okay, this pantry is color coded, but someone went and bought green suckers to fill the green section of this pantry.
Yeah.
And that's not real life.
Yep.
That is, in fact, creating a situation where now instead of the pantry serving you, you are serving the pantry. And you have just become enslaved to your organization. And I'm using air quotes that if you're listening, you can't see. But it is not actual organization. It's beautification. It's the deification of stuff.
Yeah.
If you've gone to buy beautiful, clear acrylic containers and they're just holding and showcasing all of your things, I think it's worth asking, like, why are we doing this? And why does it matter so freaking much that the pantry looks like a rainbow? Does it really matter most that it's easy for me to at a glance inventory the pantry
Mhm.
so that I can make the meals that I'm going to make, and I have at a just one quick look know what I have available. The kids can grab a healthy snack. The function is just so much more important to me and to the vast majority of our clients than the form. but we get hung up on that form, and that's where we compare ourselves, and that's where we feel like we're failing. And so if you're looking at the magazine and that closet is just filled with khakis and white shirts, well, gosh, of course it's going to look amazing. It's literally uniformity is
Yeah.
happening, and that's not realistic,
Was
and
it
it's
Steve
not even
Jobs? You know, like,
desirable. Who wants that? Who
yeah.
wants to only wear, the same, like, oh, I have four shades of tan in here or
Right,
whatever
right.
is my beige world.
I'm saying Steve Jobs
um
was the only one that probably did.
yes,
He must have
exactly.
been the easiest person to organize for as far as his
Maybe.
closet goes.
That may very well be. But yeah, unless that's what you're going for, and if it is great, more power to you if you're happy with that.
Yeah.
But if you're not happy being someone who is having to go buy dang green suckers so that you can have the green section that then no one can eat from, what, like you can't have a sucker because I got to keep my green. Why? Why are we
Right.
doing this? And I feel like such a need to point that out to people because understanding the difference in seeing organization and seeing staging will save you a lot of shame and doubt and feeling of being a failure potentially. And again, I just like life's too short for that business. Let this stuff be here to serve you so that you can then go and be the best real estate agent
Yeah.
or the best dad or the best youth soccer coach or whatever it is you want to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
and stop serving the green suckers.
So let's talk a little bit about kind of going into the real estate side of it
Yeah.
and things, right? So combining our two worlds
Mm-hmm.
to where we can benefit the people that are out there that either obviously we kind of already talked about organizing your items
Yeah.
and making its functionality is what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But what about when we talk to a potential seller and
Yeah.
they're coming in and they're wanting to they're getting overwhelmed by the entire
Mm-hmm.
process because obviously the transaction itself
Yeah.
is a lot to take in, repairs, if it's staging, if it's having to do showings and keeping everything tidy while you're
Right.
doing showings.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about something like that they would benefit from your services when it comes to that.
Absolutely. And so you just heard me kind of, rail against staging. And that doesn't mean staging your home for sale, though. Those are
Hmm.
two very
Yeah,
different
yes.
things. And the truth of the matter is, organization is innately good looking. It will feel and look so much better. It will show better in photographs for your listing. It will, create a welcoming environment for, people who are taking a tour of your home and trying to imagine their life in your space. So a service that we definitely do provide is helping people with something we call a pre-pack. And so essentially what we do is we come in and we work with the client to determine how can you still live comfortably in this home while it is on the market, but we go ahead and just pack up those things. You're moving anyway, right? We're selling this place
Hmm.
anyway. So can we go ahead and pack those things that you just don't need in this season of life right now? Or maybe that you have in multiples and we can really kind of pare down and simplify. People who are prospective buyers, they want to see space. Your closet could be 20 by 20 and just have like amazing bones of organization. But if it's cram packed full, it will always send the message it's not enough space.
Hmm.
And that's exactly the opposite that you want to be sending. Obviously, you also want to depersonalize and some things like that. Like, yes, your kid is for sure the cutest, but someone else wants to imagine their kid running
Yeah,
through those
yeah,
halls,
yeah.
right? So we want it to be clean. We want it to smell good. We want it to be depersonalized, but especially in those key places. So, primary bedrooms, primary closets, entryways, kitchens, and pantries. People want to see flat surfaces. We want our kitchen counters to be basically spotless, right? And so that's going to require, for most people, some pretty serious paring down and just making some decisions about what can I live with and be totally happy with right now? How can I live a little more of an Airbnb feeling
Yeah.
lifestyle? And so that's definitely one of the things we enjoy to do is to help that person again still live comfortably, but pared down enough that when it's time for the photographer to come to get those, because we know the online listings are crucial and people are
Yes.
making decisions about what house they're really going to buy before they've ever set foot in it very
Yes.
often these days. So we need to be able to get the best photographs available. And simultaneously, when they do come for those showings, if you're having to rush around and it's a mad panic every time and oh hurry kids hide everything,
Yeah.
oh man, that's super stressful and we don't want to live like that. If a house is on the market for a couple weeks and you're having to be at like red alert,
Yes.
every moment of every day, man, let's avoid that, especially because you're going to pack this stuff anyway.
Right.
Let's go ahead and be smart about it and get you started toward that process and still have a home that shows just so much better. We know that staged homes sell not only faster but for a higher asking price.
Hmm.
The ROI is through the roof on hiring someone to come in and do what we do. It's just basically not a question that you're going to be paid back, multiple times over for going ahead and choosing to pare down in that kind of way. So pretty valuable. And also, I mean, it's kind of a test run on, can you live happily with less?
That's
A
right.
litmus test, right?
Yes.
A lot of people never want to unpack everything after they've lived in kind of a pre-packed home, actually.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true because once you kind of like feel that minimalist,
Hmm.
then they start feeling those endorphins and that
Yeah.
serotonin kind of come in, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know if I want to go back to
Right.
what we were living like before."
Well, and like the thought that, like, you know what, we lived just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody ate. There was a plate for everyone,
Yeah.
and everyone had socks. Like we did it. We had enough. And so it kind of is. And I'm not necessarily a minimalist, but I'm for enoughism. And what your enough might be,
Yeah.
and my enough, it can be different, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, we definitely as Americans just we have a tendency to have too much stuff.
Thanks, Amazon.
Thanks, Amazon. It's sponsored by Amazon. No, we Americans actually have 3.9% of the world's children, but 40% of the world's toys. And
Gosh,
so I'm
dang.
sure that that statistic applies to children,
Mm-hmm.
but I promise you that we probably also have similar ratios of whatever define your toy as an adult. Is it shoes? Is it golf clubs? Is it
Right. Right.
dresses? Whatever it is. We have a stuff problem for sure. So yeah, it's kind of a nice little litmus test of like, can I live happily with fewer pairs of boots or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Probably you can.
Probably could.
Yeah.
You probably could, and you wouldn't even realize it. And now you possibly even just transition your life into something that you never thought you could.
Yeah. Exactly.
and live that life where you feel that sanctuary as you come walk in the door,
Yep.
and you feel as though you can walk in here, and it's and we're not still not talking about being perfect. We're not talking about getting
Absolutely.
rid of all of the clothes, the laundry on the couch, or
Yep.
getting all the dishes out of the
Right.
sink right
No one
away.
can
No,
play with these toys.
yeah,
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 it's not about
it's not
that.
about that.
Yeah.
It's about because you still live in your home.
I
You
hope you
still
do.
absolutely live in your
I
home.
hope you do. The goal should never be that this is a Martha Stewart catalog and no one can sit on the furniture. I hope you use your home every day. I hope you play in it. I hope you bake in it. I hope you make some messes. But I hope that you have some protocols. I hope you have built into your daily schedule times where we just reset things. And it's easy to do because even the kids know where things go. We do that as early as possible. Wherever your
Hmm.
kid is, start today on helping them to understand where home is for things
Yes.
and create a small enough ratio of items to square foot that it's winnable for them. I like to suggest that parents not give their kids more than it would be overwhelming. And so I suggest a 1-to-1 ratio of years to minutes. So your 3-year-old really doesn't need more toys than it would take them 3 minutes to clean up on their own.
Okay.
I think we're kind of helping contribute to some of these ADHD, attention deficit issues when we have 47 toys that all light and beep and, make noises and sounds.
Hmm.
And it's, interesting to look at our media and say, like, man, we used to see a screen change, a camera angle change once every 17 seconds on average, like, back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And look now, it's 0.7 seconds before there's a different angle, different angle, different
Yeah.
angle. So we're not practicing. We're not giving our children the gift of boredom.
Hmm.
And boredom is like the wellspring of imagination, right? And that's a
so
muscle that
true.
can grow.
So
So
true.
anyway, tangential there. I
No,
got,
no, no.
got
I
off
love
on a
that. I love
tangent,
that.
but
'Cause yes,
super
that's
relevant.
that's another thing that's
Yeah.
like you said, super relevant. But yeah, absolutely, the psychology behind that, and being able to kind of put that muscle into your children so that they can develop that hopefully on their own as well too as they get older.
Well, and I think there's something to be said for helping kids or even adults. This is something we see oftentimes that maybe you're saying, like, I don't know why, but I'm stressed out. I get home every day and I just feel mad.
Hmm.
I don't have a lot of patience. I just find myself yelling at everybody every day. I don't even know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just so triggered. Well, if you don't know it, but you're having a physiological reaction to all this clutter in your house, that's like the power of information, right? Like now and that's something that when our kids were really little, we would play hard, and every day there would be the toys on the floor, and we'd stand at the edge of the room and we'd say, "Man, guys, you had a lot of fun in here today, didn't you? It was good times. You built all the Lego towers or whatever it was." And then we'd say, "How do you feel when you look at this room now?" And we'd just be quiet and let them vocalize for themselves and try to bring an awareness to an understanding of how they felt to look at the clutter. And maybe when they were really little, they didn't even have the words for it. They might say, like, "Oh, I feel blah, blah, blah in here," and like, "Yeah, I feel that too." And then because, again, we had set up a winnable situation, they knew how and where to put things away. We'd say, okay, bud, I'm going to go clean on my space right now. You do your space. I'm going to come back in 3 minutes. I cannot wait to see what you've done with this. High five, buddy. I can't wait for you to show me. And you leave for 3 minutes and you let them do their thing on their own. And when we'd come back, no matter if it was perfect or imperfect, and a lot of time it was imperfect. There'd be things you would have to come, but you don't lead with that, right? You say, wow, look what you did. Man, how does it feel in here now? And then again, be quiet, because we want our kids to be able to connect what they're feeling internally with what they're experiencing externally. And I think a lot of people miss out on the understanding that those things are like intrinsically related. Your external environment and your internal mental, emotional environment, man, they are reflective of one another. And helping yourself in one area can have really positive benefits in another.
Oh yeah.
So we, again, let the kid kind of express for him or herself, like, how does it feel now though? It feels woo-saw, like it feels nice now. And then back that up with like maybe like a social reward for that. Like, it feels so nice in here. I want to hang out with you in here now. Can we read a book in here tonight? Because again, that's kind of a real world consequence. Like, if your buddies want to come over, but your place is like, no one can sit down because of all the dirty socks, people aren't going to want to come hang out at your place. So, trying to kind of like reinforce the positive social pressure, quote unquote, there.
Right.
That like, yeah, you can be in charge of creating a space where not only you feel good, but others also feel welcome. And that's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So trying to, again, empower, you said that word for a second time here today, but empower, even kids from an early age, like, you have control over your physical environment. And when you do that, you're helping to control your internal environment too. And I mean, that's a like a worldwide lesson. A lot of people need to understand, but you have a lot more control over the way you feel and therefore the way you act than you might believe that you do. And having an internal locus of control is pretty healthy,
Right.
I think we could probably do with a little bit more of that as
For
a nation.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You're saying, that everybody kind of throws around the word empowerment, right?
Yeah.
But like it is a real. I love the word empowerment, and I use it a lot, mainly for whenever I'm working with my clients.
Yeah.
I like to empower my clients because
Absolutely.
knowledge is power. So when you have the knowledge, you feel the power, and
Yep.
and not so much power as in control,
Yeah.
but power as in understanding and in confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So that I try to empower. I'm gonna use that again.
Yeah.
Empower my clients so that they can make the best educated decision moving forward.
Absolutely.
Right. So that
Yeah.
because any type of task when it comes to organizing your house or even selling your home
Yeah.
or even buying a home, that can be daunting,
Absolutely.
like extremely overwhelming.
Yep.
So why not? I think a lot of that overwhelmation, if that's a word,
It is now.
over that overwhelming feeling comes from just the unknown.
Yeah.
It's the not knowing of what to expect or even know how to.
Absolutely.
So again, this is why you do connect with professionals. You do connect with a real estate agent. You do connect with a professional
Who,
organizer.
not how, right?
Who, not how,
Yeah.
exactly. Because yes, you can learn how to do what we do.
Sure.
Absolutely. Will you love it? We don't know. But you could.
Is it the best use of your time?
Is it the best use of your time? Exactly. That's the other thing as well too. When you still have a 9-to-5 job, you still have your kids, then you want to take on these type of giant responsibilities. Why not hire somebody else to do it for you? Get that service so you can save time, or you can save and make that as an investment.
Yeah, and not only are you saving the investment of your time, but thinking about people who may want to think, oh, I'm going to go a for sale by owner route. You don't know the market like a true professional. You don't understand maybe the different rates are out there that we can do a buy down. Like, there are just so many things that someone who is not like invested in this as their career can't possibly know.
Yes.
They don't maybe understand the comps like they think they do, and they think Zillow is the final answer and what they should put their house in the market for. Not to like trash talk any one particular brand or realtor or whoever it may be, all of them. They're just not going to know the market as well as a local professional who is invested in that particular area
Amen.
who really knows that market. And so you could cheat yourself out of a lot of money by trying to save a few percentage points.
Yes.
I've seen that happen over and over again.
Yes.
So not only are you possibly, like, oh, you saving some time, quote unquote, but you could be really ripping yourself off in the long run.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of a deal that for most people, let's face it, like your home is the biggest like piece of your nest egg that you have. And so you want to be able to get that right. You want the connections from that realtor to their lender, to their title company. Like all of those connections with a strong realtor are going to be hugely in your favor. And it just, who not how is incredibly important there.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Absolutely right. I love it. I absolutely love it. Amber, you've been absolutely amazing. I know we can keep talking about
Probably
this forever, and I would. I
Another day.
Another day. But we'll make this into a series. That's what we'll do. We'll make it into
Great.
a series. But I love the fact that you're doing this. I love your story. I love your ambition, and I love your spirit that comes out of you. Because you can always tell when somebody's very passionate about something, and the passion really comes out and it oozes out of you. And that to me is it speaks volumes when it comes to knowing who you are and what you do, and knowing what you do, to help others. In a service-based business, the passion has to come through for somebody to believe you, and that confidence ensues with that as well too. So I commend you on all that, and thank you so much for coming by and doing this with us and sharing this with the people that are out there as well too. I really hope they get a benefit out of this, and really kind of get an understanding of the psychology behind it, because if the more you understand, the more comfortable you'll feel about it, and maybe you'll be more enticed to take execution on it and execute on it.
I completely agree. I feel very blessed to be able to have found something to do that I genuinely believe in so much. I just like what I do so much. I'm so fond of my own like personal brand. It has been, yes, a hard ride in so many ways, but just truly a rewarding one. And part of what's rewarding is getting to meet awesome people along the way like you. So thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. All right, Amber, tell them where to find you.
Absolutely. So you can find us at theorganizerchicks.com or basically on any social media at theorganizerchicks.
Awesome. You hear you guys. If you feel as though you or somebody else can benefit from this, by all means, share it with them. Comment down below, tag them in this, or just send it to them. And if you have any questions on any type of organization or real estate needs, obviously contact Amber and Organizer Chicks, or contact us over here at Edge Realty. Ask us a question, and even if it has to do with this video, go ahead and ask your questions down below, and we'll go ahead and get back together and maybe even do another series for it, so we can kind of get back together and talk more psychology. I know I would love that.
Sounds fun.
So if y'all would too as well, let us know. Again, my name is Yashua Suarez, Amber with the Organizer Chicks, with Edge Realty. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, we will see you on the next one. Bye, y'all. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Edge Realty Podcast. We hope you found the insights valuable and enjoyed the discussion. If you did, we'd love for you to help us spread the word. Please share this episode with friends, family, and anyone you think might benefit from our content. Your support helps us reach more people and continue bringing you the best real estate insights. Don't forget to engage with us on social media. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube to stay updated with our latest episode, behind the scenes content, and more. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment, ask a question, or share your thoughts on what topics you'd like for us to cover on future episodes. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast, which is now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon Music, so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next time on the Edge Realty Podcast, where we're dedicated to helping you navigate the world of real estate with confidence and success. Until then, take care and happy house hunting.